Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, reaction as Johnny Manziel throws a water bottle at an aggressive fan. Plus, Kevin Love says he's all in. He'll be back in Cleveland next season. Also, what is LeBron trying to say about Steph Curry just before the finals? We'll have all that and more coming up on the First Take podcast, which starts right now. Hey guys, we're here. I'm glad you stayed with us. First Take, Kerry Champion, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, good morning. How y'all doing?
I'm just wondering what this thing is down to my left. That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. Is that for you?
That's what they're telling me. But they won't tell me what it was or whatever. They're talking about a surprise. It better be a good one.
Well,
I know that much.
I'm going to go on record right away.
Yes.
Here. You're going to get no gifts from me during the show.
There is a
today.
gift, as you can see, sitting at the front of the table. It is for a Stephen A. Smith,
great.
as you can see. It is a surprise. But do us a favor at home, guys. Like, if you want to guess what it could be, because if you watch the show, you could have an idea. Why don't you tweet us what you think it could be in that box there for one Stephen A. Smith?
I genuinely do not know what it is nor who it is from.
I know.
See, that's really what bothers me. I don't know who it's from.
It's a gift. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, it does.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, it does. But that's all right. I'm going to be cool with it. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to play along. But I don't like surprises. But I'm going to play along.
Tell me about
Could
that.
Andrew Bogut have sent you something?
I think Andrew Bogut may have sent him a gift. That could be something like he wants to maybe make amends, be friends with you, perhaps.
No, he don't have to make amends. He didn't do anything wrong other than not show up on many occasions in the past.
Here we go.
But he showed up this year, so I give him credit for that.
Okay. Well, on the show today, obviously, it's June, so the NBA takes center stage. We will get to that in just a few moments. Tons of storylines. Plus, Kevin Love says he's all in. That means he wants to stay with Cleveland. Do the fellas believe him? We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel. Apparently, this is what we're hearing, that Johnny Manziel threw a water bottle at a heckler in an incident that did not lead to any arrest or charges at the AT&T Byron Nelson golf tournament. A police spokesman says that the heckler had been asking for an autograph for about maybe 2 hours on Saturday when an exchange escalated in the pool area of the hotel where the PGA Tour event was held. The bottle didn't hit the fan, but a friend of Manziel's then stepped between him and the 18-year-old and pushed the man. Now, here's the question, and I'll start with you first, Skip Bayless. Do you believe Manziel was, or his response, rather, was that inbounds or out of bounds?
Stephen A. Smith, you know how much I continue to support Johnny Manziel. You know how much I continue to believe in Johnny Manziel. But despite all of the above, I got to go with my tough love here today. I thought this was way out of bounds. I was very disappointed in the way Johnny Manziel did, or I should say didn't, handle this escalating situation. And I think we would both agree on one point. Johnny only has so many more incidents he can get away with and still be in the National Football League. We know that Johnny still loves to attend games. I don't have a big problem with that. Johnny loves golf, so he loves to attend golf tournaments, especially the Byron Nelson, which is a big spectacle in his home area in the city of Dallas, Texas. Something I covered for years and years. Ironically, an event known for its alcohol consumption. And the only good news here is that the police said there was absolutely zero indication that Johnny had had any alcohol. That would have been disastrous. Now, back to going to games, going out, seeing, being seen. I don't like it, Stephen A., and you can call me a stick in the mud, but Johnny's down close to that last strike here with teams around the NFL that might or might not be interested. I would just lay low if I were Johnny until I got my career back on track. He's talked lately at the OTAs about how much he learned to miss football, how much it meant to him. And when he was taken away from it for a couple of months, it killed him. Well, so why would you risk going out in public again and again and again without qualified security? You know this from all of your moving and shaking. You at least have to have qualified security with you, not 8 friends and your girlfriend, because that's reportedly who he was with at this point. So, near the 18th hole at a golf course where I used to be a member is the big swimming pool area of the Four Seasons Hotel. There's alcohol being consumed. It's a big party atmosphere. So there's this one kid, an 18-year-old. I'm not saying he was having alcohol. I have no idea. But 18-year-old kid, and he's wearing a shirt with a Texas A&M logo. So clearly he used to be a big Johnny fan. I'm sure he was until yesterday when he began to pester Johnny again and again and again over a 2-hour period for his autograph as Johnny hung around the 18th green at the Byron Nelson. And Johnny, according to friends, politely refused, said, no, I want to just be here with my friends, until finally the kid reached and grabbed Johnny Manziel. At that moment, flashpoint moment, I believe that Stephen A. Smith says security, calls for maybe one of the policemen. There are many nearby, or many of the Byron Nelson workers in their shirts. They're readily available and visible. Bring them over, point out the kid and say, please, please help me here. Would you please make him cease and desist? But that did not happen. So the kid continues and he begins to insult Johnny Manziel with taunts about Ryan Tannehill, former Texas A&M quarterback, is better than you are. And Johnny, as he begins to leave, loses his temper. And we know he has a big temper to lose. And he reportedly hurls a water bottle that is 3/4 full, 32 fluid ounces, in the direction of his heckler. Just in the direction. Friends said it was more of a spike into the grass. But it bounces up and hits the retaining wall by the swimming pool, whatever. Then, as Kerry points out, it continues to escalate, and Johnny gets in the face of the kid, or vice versa, until one of the friends steps in between and shoves the 18-year-old. That's called simple assault. And fortunately for the friends and for Johnny, the 18-year-old decided not to press charges. So as Kerry points out, police report wasn't even written. But why, Johnny, would you inflict this situation on yourself? Because there's going to come a point in time when people around the NFL, and we're about to talk about Johnny's future or lack thereof in Cleveland, are going to say, you know what? This kid just can't stay out of trouble. No matter how you define the trouble, this became a national incident because whether Johnny likes it or not, he's going to be heckled more than ever, and he's an even bigger target than he was in the first place. I would suggest that Johnny just stay home in his gated community in Cleveland and play golf instead of going to watch golf, but that's just me. Your thoughts?
I can respect where you're coming from because I know how affectionate you are about Johnny Manziel. I can't say that you're totally wrong because I don't believe you're totally wrong. I think you make some valid points. But I do think that we have to recognize Johnny Manziel's youth. We have to recognize the fact that he wants to live a little. And more importantly, when we have this kind of platform that we have available to us, Skip Bayless, it's incumbent upon us to also point the finger at fans out there and let's at least highlight some of the things that they do. Let's take this incident into consideration. You're seeking an autograph for 2 hours?
Yep.
2 hours? You understand? Skip.
Will not back off.
Let me tell you something right now. That's not seeking an autograph.
I know.
That's seeking trouble.
Exactly.
That guy, that individual, if you're bothering him for 2 hours, let me tell you something right now. You're not seeking an autograph.
And I know how you would react to somebody who reached out and grabbed you from behind.
Allow me to elaborate on that. Allow me to elaborate on that because you brought that up. And I know you often say to me, you know my brother from another mother, how you know me so well. Sometimes you think you know me better than I know myself.
That is a fact.
In this particular instance,
is that a fact?
In this particular instance, I would say you're somewhat mistaken there. Because let me be the first to tell you, you are right. I would call security.
You would.
And I would get, but that is only because I work for ESPN. Oh, it's the only reason. Because the second you put your hands on me,
I know.
It's like the head. It's on now.
I got it.
Now, because see, that is my license to put my hands on you.
Well,
because you know. Let me tell you something. You know better than touching somebody else that you don't know.
But you have a whole lot more to lose than the toucher has to lose, right?
Exactly. And because of that,
yes,
is the only reason why I would go the route that you said. I think this is important to modify.
It is.
You understand? Because you've got people out there, they know the position that Johnny Manziel is in. They know the position that I am in and stuff like, and others, yourself and others. And so because of that, that's why they antagonize you, because they're looking to instigate and start trouble. When we recognize that and you take that into account, now is when some just a touch of empathy needs to be aimed in Johnny Manziel's direction, because we have to recognize and appreciate the fact that there was an individual here that saw Johnny Manziel, that knew he was surrounded by a crew of dudes and still heckled him for 2 hours, okay? So this dude clearly
I'm not sure you can
describe
describe him as a crew of dudes, but that's a whole nother issue.
Listen, they're his friends.
Okay.
They're his friends.
Right.
That's what I mean
No,
by
I
that,
know.
okay?
I got
that's
it.
my
I got
lingo.
Yeah.
All I'm saying to you is that they are his friends. You're surrounded with your crew of friends, all right? Now, some of us have a crew of friends that are a bit different than others. Like my crew of friends, I can assure you I would not have had that problem.
Yes,
you
I understand. That's my point. That's my point.
That wasn't the case. So all I'm saying is we understand that if we're willing to take into account the fact that this guy was bothering him for 2 hours, then as much as Johnny Manziel's got to be in the public eye, you've got to know better, whatever. He is a human being, and if you're taking it for 2 hours, especially in front of your woman, we are men. With this testosterone, it's pride,
and
it's all of that.
It's a huge factor in this. Huge factor.
Exactly. Because
I agree.
Because Skip, you are disciplined.
You are.
You have been around for many, many years. I tend to believe that no matter how much you could take,
I know.
if Ernestine was by your side and somebody was coming at you like that, your attitude would be just a little bit different.
Can I make a quick point?
Sure.
Please make a point.
If Ernestine had been by my side,
she would have went
that
after
guy
him.
would have been in more trouble than he ever wanted to be in.
Right.
Thank you.
But I'm just saying that as a man, when you're with your woman, your antennas get up.
I agree.
You know, and so you got to take that into consideration.
Yep.
Now, if you, like you said, you want to give some tough love, you want to point out a lesson, allow me to share a personal story with y'all and show you the lesson that I learned. In the finals, in 2007, the Spurs and the Detroit Pistons, I had to leave after Game 6 because I found out literally 2 minutes before I went on SportsCenter that I had a death in my family. And I was devastated. And these folks in San Antonio, this group of dudes were just heckling me. And anybody that knows me sees me at games. I lock in and I can shut out anybody because I'm watching the game.
Was this before Game 7?
This is before Game 6.
Okay.
2 minutes before my SportsCenter hit on Game 6, I learned I had a death in the family at San Antonio. In San Antonio, and I was being heckled.
I got it. Yep.
And I finally lost it, and literally looked at the dude and I yelled something that obviously I can't repeat on the air. You know, I dropped the F-bomb on him. You know what the dude did? I got him! And you order, so all of a sudden you realize, oh, this is what it's about. So you got people coming at you, trying to antagonize you, purposely trying to irritate you, doing anything to get a reaction in a negative light so they can, whether it's tweet about you, talk about you, or get you in trouble. And what I was blessed and fortunate about is that the bosses that were there with me knew what had happened. Because had they not known that what I was happening, it would have looked incredibly unprofessional. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying to you is from that day forward, I've never had that problem again because I prepared myself mentally for the kind of vitriol people are going to throw at you just because you're in the position that you're in and they hate it and they want to take you down. And that's a mentality that you've got to have. You've got to walk in the public places with so you can learn your lesson from it.
And in 2006, we didn't have the social media.
That's right.
That adds
so it didn't jump all over the...
That's right.
Yeah, right?
That's right.
Okay, how do you feel, to conclude this, about my premise that maybe until Johnny gets his career back on track, be it in Cleveland or elsewhere, he just lay low for a while?
I agree with that.
You're right, Skip. He should because he's got too much to overcome. But at the same time, I just think it's important to recognize that you've got people out there that, in other words, instead of us sitting up here judging him, let's just sit up here and say, Johnny, you got to watch yourself. You need to lay low because there are people out there to get you. That's an entirely different tenor to bring to the conversation than saying, you know what, you can't do this, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. When you heckled for 2 hours and your woman is with you, look, man.
You empathize.
Oh, man, listen. Like I said, you go out with, in our position, you go out with a woman right now, unless you laying low and it's a private spot or whatever, you roll out. I got my man Juvie and my security. We roll.
Shout out Juvie.
We roll together because I don't want to have to do something because I know I would be tempted to do just that.
I hear you.
Johnny.
Just lay low. Just lay low.
All right, let's move on. We're still talking about Johnny, though. Spending time at our OTAs, our Tony Grossi reports from Brown's training camp that Johnny Manziel appears to be, quote, a fish out of water. He went on to say he believes the Browns are moving on, and take a look at what he had to say. It is why Johnny Manziel, tortured enough by his own personal recovery from an unspecified substance abuse problem, is a fish out of water in his second season with the Browns. It, in this instance, is what the Browns want from their quarterback in 2015. They do not want a flashy young man who can improvise and wow the crowd with athleticism. They want a game manager. The Browns aren't trying to reinvent Manziel. They are, by all appearances, moving on. Let's focus on moving on. Skip Bayless, should the Browns be actually moving on from Johnny Manziel?
I sure hope they are, Carrie, Stephen A. I'm going to go back to what I said the day after Johnny was drafted by the Browns. This was a bad break for Johnny Manziel and a bad idea for the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, he wound up with a team whose coach and GM and then offensive coordinator did not want Johnny Manziel, especially in the first round. Those three were persuaded on the fly, as you recall, by an owner who was persuaded on the fly by a text that the quarterback coach had just received from Johnny Manziel, and the owner said, let's go for it. And they went for it to the detriment of all involved. Now, Johnny, obviously last year, I cannot defend one pass that he threw all year because he did absolutely nothing to help himself last year. But I still believe in him. I still believe he can be a star in this league, but he needs a fresh start with a coach and or a general manager who believe in Johnny Manziel. And you know what? Maybe Dallas was an eventual destination for Johnny, speaking of where he was yesterday. A couple of months ago, our Chris Mortensen reported that the Browns were ready to move on. That was before he came out of rehab, Johnny. I reported that maybe about the same time, a couple of months ago. Now, Tony Grossi, who has covered the Browns for many, many years in the city of Cleveland, is reporting that even after they have seen Johnny after rehab in the OTAs, they are still ready to move on because we know that Patton's on his last legs. He's a defensive coach who just wants to hammer the ball, run the football, and play defense and hope to save his job. So I'm hoping that somehow, some way, in fact, if there's any silver lining to this incident yesterday, it's that Cleveland will just, I wish they would just release Johnny so that he could be back on the open market.
I completely agree with you. My mentality is very, very simple. Mike Patton is a defensive-minded coach. He's not an offensive guru. He wants to pound the ball, engage in ball control. He wants his quarterback to be a game manager. He wants his defense, to stir the cup and to be the driving force behind the team's success. That's not Johnny Manziel. That's not who he is. Johnny Manziel has no desire to be a game manager. Johnny Manziel wants to be a star. Johnny Manziel wants to be a game changer. There's nothing wrong with that if you can deliver the goods, but it has to be with the right pieces in place to facilitate that. We have heard so much about Johnny Manziel. He, believe it or not, Skip, has arguably been the best thing that has happened to the Cleveland Browns over the last year, because when you really, really go beneath the surface and look into the Browns organization, you hear about how dysfunctional they are from top to bottom, primarily because of new ownership and some of the decisions the owners have forced the football minds to make. So as a result, you've got the owner on one page, you've got the GM on another page, you've got the coach on another page, you've got assistants and coordinators on a different page, measured, illuminated by Schottenheimer deciding to leave and go elsewhere. So you've got all of these things going on. And when you look at it from that perspective, there is no denying that that is not the greatest place for a young quarterback with Johnny Manziel's notoriety to be put in, because it adds to the pressure, but you have no support. And when you don't have support and you on the NFL level, it's catastrophic because remember, his elite weapon is Josh Gordon, who has been suspended, okay? He won't be eligible to play next year. So when you have that taken away from you on top of the dysfunctional environment overseeing you, that's just a bad environment to be in. And I don't disagree with you one bit. I think the best thing for Johnny Manziel would be to move on elsewhere. The legitimate question to me is, where would he go? Not whether he should leave Cleveland, because it is clear he doesn't need to be in Cleveland.
You like my Dallas idea?
No. because Tony Romo is the man there. Johnny Manziel would have to wait his turn.
Not all bad.
Well, I don't think it's bad, but I think when you have endured what Johnny has endured, the best cure, the best medicine is to play. If you're languishing, you got to remember, this is a guy that's a quarterback, a former Heisman Trophy winner, has all the notoriety in the world, and still feels this insatiable itch to go out and do something because he's bored. So imagine what he would do, not only if he's off the bench, but if the projection is, I got to wait 3 or 4 years before I'm the man. That's a lot to ask for somebody like him. And you got to at least put him in a place where he has a shot to compete for a starting job and get some playing time.
Yeah. Before the regular season ended, we questioned Kevin Love's interest in the Cavs. Would he leave or will he stay? Well, on Sunday, speaking for the very first time since having surgery, Love says he's all in.
Is there any question you'll be back here next year in your mind?
No, I truly haven't even thought about it. But as I mentioned, I expect to be suiting up by game 1 of next year.
For the Cavs?
Yes, sir. Obviously, I'd rather be out there playing, and that is, as a human being, from a human being aspect, is very tough. But as far as being here and supporting the guys and now being able to travel, it's a lot of fun. And I thought I still feel like I'm a big part of this. Anybody that has pending free agency coming up in the summer, I feel like that's going to happen no matter who it is. So I try to not pay attention to it. Earlier in the season, I went ahead and just took out my Twitter, forgot looking at any social media kind of stuff, maybe Instagram here and there, but that was really it. So that's kind of been put on the back burner for me.
All right, so here is the question. If, in fact, Kevin Love does decide to stay, Stephen A., how will this play out?
Well, you know what? It's going to be tough because when you talk about the Kevin Love situation, it's really not about him, even though he's got the player option and it would behoove him to opt out of his contract so he can re-up and sign a max deal with a team that has his bird rights and therefore can pay him more than anybody he can get, let's say for the sake of argument, without knowing the salary cap situation because of the new television contracts. Let's say for the sake of argument, he could sign for 5 years and $110 million. If he went to another team, the max he could get is a 4-year deal at about $85 million. So you're talking about a $25 million difference with a year less of security. That matters because when you're talking about that, obviously you would think that Kevin Love would want to stay. The question is, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and GM David Griffin, why in God's name would you give Kevin Love $110 million? Kevin Love can play this game. Yeah. Kevin Love is very, very good. This is not to cast aspersions on him, but he is not needed in Cleveland as much as he would be needed elsewhere. And these playoffs have proven it. Not just because the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the NBA Finals, it's because they're in the Eastern Conference. And the requirement that it takes to get there doesn't require the greatness of Kevin Love to pull it off, as they have already proven. Now you've got a Tristan Thompson, who the Cavs foolishly didn't sign and take care of at the beginning of the season. He's due a huge raise. You got to take care of him. Timothy Mozgov, that's a team option. Yep. But you want him because he's got tremendous upside. He's a legitimate 7-footer. And more importantly, the combination of him along with the return of Anderson Varejao, who's under contract but was hurt because got hurt earlier this year. Once you've got those three, you've shored up your front line for years to come, and you've let LeBron James know you don't ever have to worry about playing down low for us, which is what he doesn't want to do because he likes being out on the perimeter. That's what his game entails. So you've got that going on. Then you've got Tristan Thompson again, who's represented by the same guy LeBron James is represented by, which is Rich Paul. You have LeBron James' contract to consider because Rich Paul, as he made it very, very clear to Miami and then to Cleveland, and to anyone else who will listen, there is no way in God's green earth that LeBron James is ever receiving less than the absolute maximum dollar down to the penny from this day forward, because the mentality is, you got to think about how LeBron thinks. He's not just a businessman, y'all, but he's philanthropic, particularly when it comes to his contemporaries. And they believe, and everybody believes and knows, that LeBron sets the bar. So by LeBron accepting less, then it sets the stage for everybody else to accept less, because organizations can go to them and say, if the best player in the world is willing to accept less, why can't you? So they're cognizant of this. And as a result of it, they ain't bending with that as well. So all of those things that you take into consideration are going to influence the mind of a David Griffin and Dan Gilbert, because they got to make sure not only LeBron is taken care of, but that the people he wants is taken care of, because you want to make sure that LeBron commits long term down the line and he doesn't up and leave you high and dry. Those things could potentially, I'm not saying it will, but it could potentially affect Kevin Love, because even though I believe that LeBron wants him, and I believe that LeBron respects him, and I believe they all do, because the brother Kevin Love, he can play. The flip side is when you see what they've accomplished without him, and you see how Tristan, how valuable he has become, you know, re-upping Iman Shumpert, your perimeter defender, taking care of Tristan Thompson, taking care of Timothy Mozgov. What room are you going to have to give Kevin Love $110 million? So to me, it's all in the hands of David Griffin. I know that Kevin Love will want to stay if they offer him $25 million more than anybody else could. The question is, will they?
Right.
And I think the Cavaliers determine that, and in particular, Mr. LeBron James.
Yes.
So I'm going to cut to your chase there. If I'm David Griffin, if I'm Dan Gilbert, I am hoping against hope that Kevin Love leaves and takes the highest bid on the open market. Because all I want to tell Kevin Love now is, Kevin, we will happily give you these $16.7 million that we owe you for next year, because that's your choice. That's not our choice, but your choice.
Correct.
So would Kevin Love come back for one more year at 16.7? No. Okay, well then, I already strode out onto this limb 2 weeks ago. My eyes are telling me this team is much better with Tristan Thompson in the starting lineup than Kevin Love in the starting lineup. Now, would Kevin Love be the sixth man next year? No, he's not going to do that. He was the star in Minnesota, even though they never made the playoffs.
Right.
And I don't think he's that big of a difference maker as the superstar of a team. But would somebody give him that? What would you say?
85.
Like $85 million on the open market?
He's worth
Would
that.
they?
He's worth, by the way, in fairness to Kevin Love, he's worth that. I don't think he's worth the $110 million.
If he's your go-to guy, is he worth it?
For $85 million, because he's a big who can shoot and rebound. In today's NBA economy, Kevin Love is worth $85 million. Now, I don't believe he's only like Chris Bosh. I told you, Chris Bosh was worth $88 million. 118? Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
All right. But they had to keep him. It was desperate.
They didn't have to give him that much.
I understand.
Right.
I got it. Tristan Thompson has become a force. I think we agree with that,
yes,
right?
Rebounding.
As an offensive rebounder, as a high-energy defender, he and Mozgov, they're setting a tone down low, man, that Kevin Love is not capable of setting. You agreed with me the other day when I called Kevin Love basically a finesse player, right? He's a below-the-rim rebounder who rebounds on savvy, position, instinct.
But he's up until this year. He would bang down low now.
I guess
up until this year.
I don't think he sets a banging tone down low.
He lost weight. When he was in Minnesota, he was heavier, and he didn't mind throwing some elbows down low. That's not his game offensively.
Yeah, I know.
But in rebounding wise, he would get his boys.
Would you rather have Tristan Thompson crashing the boards or Kevin Love crashing the boards?
I would rather have Tristan Thompson crashing the boards, but skip Bayless. Kevin Love, as you know, is a considerably better shooter. And number two, he's a considerably better free throw shooter.
Okay, I get
that.
The
combination of the two things might equal that rebounding.
Okay, but right now, LeBron doesn't need another three-point shooter. He's got a whole array of them, and they're all hitting. They made 40% of their threes. The others did through the playoffs up to this point. That's some high makes, man. So Tristan Thompson, he won the lottery here. He deserves his money. He has earned his money.
Absolutely.
And he has earned a starting position next year, I believe. Now, would he be happier to come off the bench than Kevin Love? Is his ego much smaller? LeBron referred to that the other day, that he's not empowered the way most
Tristan
stars
don't worry
are.
about it at all.
Right, he's not entitled.
He grabs his lunch pail, he comes to work.
He does, okay? But I still believe they're better with him in the starting lineup opposite Mozgov, where they can be the 1-2 punch down low. The others can shoot threes. So now you've already told me. So Kyrie's getting the max. LeBron's going to want the max. Tristan's going to want a whole and deserve a whole lot of money.
Tristan's going to get anywhere from 13 to 15 million a year.
And you got to keep Mozgov. You just got to, whatever it costs you, you got to keep him. And all of a sudden, the odd man out is the guy, remember, does he fit in or fit out? The tweets from LeBron?
Yeah.
Well, the guy who doesn't fit in because he should fit out, to me, is Kevin Love. I don't know how you squeeze him, certainly for the big dollars. You can't squeeze him under this cap.
Well, I'm just saying, but here's where it gets dicey. You're right. But, Skip, I have it for example, on keen knowledge with my sources. When you talk about Allen Houston and the Knicks from years ago, Allen Houston used to play for the New York Knicks. He was worth about $70 million. There was nobody on the market that was going to give him more than $70 million. The Knicks gave him $100.
Yep.
Why? Because they promised him. And when you do that...
Oh, so you think there's some unspoken promise?
No, unwritten.
Yeah.
They're always spoken, but unwritten.
Yeah, right.
So what I'm saying to you is that when you make those promises in NBA culture and you don't deliver, you can't do business.
Anymore.
You can't do business in the future. And so it really all depends on what Kevin Love came to Cleveland, what promises were made. Yeah. Now, David Griffin and I have spoken. He swears that's not the case, but he let it be known to me that, look, we like him. We think very, very highly of him, and we have every intention of keeping him. This is when they were going through their problems, before the season ended. When I went out and I spoke to them when they were in L.A. Yep. But I am telling you, we all understand that in NBA culture, these promises are made. And if those promises are made, they can't renege.
Do you think Kevin Love verbally agreed to that promise?
I'm telling you right now, if he came to Cleveland, if he came to Cleveland because of the promises, that means he agreed to them. See what I'm saying? Now, the only way this works with him leaving and there's no hard feelings is if no promises were made or both sides say, you know what, let's rethink this. But as long as if they are on opposite pages and promises were made, you got a problem.
Or if deep down Kevin Love really wasn't very happy this year, he wants to be a Laker or wherever he wants to go.
That's what you're hoping for.
Right.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
After practice on Friday, LeBron James was asked a series of questions about the upcoming finals, one of which was his thoughts on Steph Curry. Let's listen.
It's uncanny. I don't think there's ever been a guy in our league to be able to shoot the ball as well as he does off the dribble or off the catch, off the ball. And, he just creates so many different matchup problems for your defense, and you always have to be aware of them.
How do you slow him down?
The same way you slow me down. Well, you can't.
That's funny. Okay, so Stephen A., LeBron's comments, you like them?
Yes, I do. But it's not because of the words that came out of his mouth. It was because of the look on his face when he said it. Everybody else may have been laughing. He wasn't. He dead serious. He understands the incredible task that is ahead of them. We all know, regardless of what way we're going to pick Skip, and we'll announce it later on in the week, who we're going with.
By the way, you're sitting right on the fence, right?
That's right. Yes, I am. No question about it. It's 50-50. And we all know that the Golden State Warriors are the better team. They're deeper. As great as Cleveland's defense has been, Golden State's defense has been better. We look at, all the statistical information that you put out there instead of the field goal percentage defense, three-point shooting, all of this other stuff. We get what we're seeing from the Golden State Warriors. They are legit, not to mention the fact that any team that's won 65-plus games in the regular season and going to the NBA Finals, it's happened 13 times. They're 13-0. They don't lose. So we understand the insurmountable task it appears that the Cleveland Cavaliers are against, but they have LeBron James. He's the best player in the world. And when I look at LeBron and I compare that to Steph Curry, it's something special. Because with LeBron, I agree with what he's saying. You know, when you talk about a guy like Steph Curry, here's what makes Steph Curry special. I covered Allen Iverson as a beat writer for his first 6-7 years in the league, and then the last 3 I was an NBA columnist. Allen Iverson struck complete fear in so many opponents because every single night this dude was in attack mode. It was never a night that he did not try to take you out. He was always swinging for the fences, and you knew if you were going to guard him, he was coming. Here's what makes Steph Curry even more dangerous. Allen Iverson, you're backing up and you're trying to shut off lanes, and you're looking in front of him and you're trying to stay in front of him. Steph Curry, you literally have to worry about him from the time he comes past half court, because he has the kind of range where he can literally pull up from 40. And it's like, yo, he can make 40 to 45% of these shots from 40. This dude is on another level as a shooter. He's the greatest shooter I have ever seen, ever. And so when you have that fear, then you start sitting there and you're looking at it like, I've never seen anything like this in my day. Maybe a Pete Maravich, and I don't know, but I have never seen it in my day. So then I look at LeBron. Well, LeBron causes you a different problem because he's 6'8", because he's 250, because he's a locomotive. He can handle the rock. He's going to the hole. He can go to the free throw line anytime where he can play above the rim. He's a man amongst boys, all of this other stuff. Completely different arsenals, but both equally as lethal. And so I just look at it from that perspective, and I'm like, good Lord have mercy. I mean, LeBron is shooting. He's got the worst shooting percentage and the three-point shooting percentage in the postseason for his career. And we're still sitting here and very, very worried about him because at any given moment, the lion gets out of the cage, man. And that's what I'm looking at when I see LeBron on that foot. Same way you stop me. It can't be done. You can't. And he's not playing. And so I look at it from that perspective. And I say, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, these are rough riders, bro. I mean, these guys, they look like they will cut your heart out to beat you. This ain't like Miami last year where you got guys at South Beach a little bit comfortable. Oh, no, this is a little, not D-Wade, of course, but I'm talking about everybody else around it. Man, I just don't know. I just don't know. But he's right. I have no problem with his statement because it's accurate.
Not only do I have no problem with what LeBron said, I thought he was being kind to Steph Curry. Right. Because LeBron James is less stoppable than Steph Curry is stoppable. Would you agree with that?
Less stoppable?
He's less stoppable. When LeBron decides to take the ball into the
he's
paint,
unstoppable.
He's close to unstoppable in the paint.
Yeah, you lost me there.
But again,
English major.
Like we have two distinctly different players here, which intrigues me about this question. Because on the one hand, you already pointed out, you didn't go far enough, but LeBron James, at this moment in time, has the lowest playoff shooting percentage for a playoff run in the history of the playoffs at 17.6%. That's with players who have shot more than 60 attempts, okay? We know what Steph Curry's already done. He set the playoff record for making three-pointers. He's all the way up to 73 in 15 games. The old record was Reggie's 58 in 22 games. So we have the greatest postseason shooter ever from three, and we currently have the worst three-point shooter in the history of the playoffs. But here's the problem. You still live and die by the three. I still think that's an axiom we should observe going into this finals. Because if Steph has a night like he had on February 26th at Cleveland when he shot 3 for 9 from three, they're in harm's way because they can lose when they don't make threes. My Spurs went out there early this season and won a game at that place that you say they call it Roracle now because Steph Curry went 0 for 7 from 3. So if he has a cold night, they are beatable. But if LeBron James just decides there's only one player that can stop LeBron James in this world, and it's LeBron James. And that's when he starts jacking up three-point shots. That's the only way to stop him is that he stops himself because he's jacking up too many three-pointers because he's not very good from there. He's not good enough to shoot the high volume that he shot in his career. But if he attacks and gets in the lane, nobody can stop him, which is how, in large part, he scored 42 on the night of February 26th in Cleveland. Now, he got rare hot from three that night later. He made 4 of them, so he made one more than Steph did. But the point is, he made 8 out of 10 in the paint that night because no Draymond, no Harrison Barnes, no nobody can really stop him when he puts his mind to getting to the basket. So, again, they're the flip side of each other, but Steph is stoppable because Steph can just go cold all of a sudden because his shot is a much higher degree of difficulty than LeBron James' shot. So, I'm sorry, LeBron was just being nice when he said, you know, basically, he's me. You know, we're both unstoppable. No, LeBron's the one that's unstoppable. Steph is stoppable.
I don't think Steph is stoppable. I think the only thing that can stop Steph is himself, because when you are a marksman and a long-distance sniper, what happens is you're either making it or missing it. It's usually not because of another human being. Mm-hmm. It's because your shot isn't falling on this particular night. Because we've seen Steph Curry make contested shots. That's what makes him so great. It just goes up. Mm-hmm. And it goes in. And it doesn't matter who's on him, what hand is in his face, whatever. If you ain't blocking the shot, I've seen Steph Curry shoot with his eyes closed and the ball goes in. Mm-hmm. I've seen him launch shots and turn around and run down court before the ball went in the wing. He's just that kind of marksman. And the one thing that I would add about LeBron James is this. Last year, skipping the playoffs, he averaged 27 points, 28 in the finals, shot 56% from the field in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. All right? And his closest percentage was up there against San Antonio. They still got spanked in 5 games.
Well, they got routed.
So what I'm saying what I'm saying to you is the greatness of LeBron James may very well not be enough in this series.
Okay, but our man Shumpert, he might have a different tact about Steph than you're talking about. He would tell you if you do get up into him and do get a hand in his face enough, you can bother that shot.
I've already spoken to the Cleveland Cavaliers about that. They say that you deny him the ball.
You can do that.
They don't say that. They don't say anything about Steph once he has the ball.
Yeah.
They talk about denying him the ball.
Well, when he's dribbling the ball up the floor, that's pretty tough to deny.
Golden State moving the basketball better than they have.
Oh, there was a rout, you say?
A complete annihilation last year. Record margin in the finals.
We've been able to collect some tweets. We've asked you to send out your suggestions for Stephen A's surprise, and here's some of the thoughts. It says it's a letter from the NBA saying the Knicks will trade draft picks with the Lakers. That could be a surprise.
Man, please, that would be a beautiful gift.
It says it could be a win.
Even though I really don't mind the Lakers returning irrelevancy. I mean, it is an excuse to get out to L.A. at the Staples Center.
Some guy's trying to be funny here, and our producer just handed this to me. Jimmy Gathright, he says it's a new hairline for Stephen A.
Really?
Is that what he said?
No, that's a low blow.
He's rude.
I'm not worried about it. I think I look good.
I think you do.
I ain't worried about it. I'm fine. My life is fine. I'm wondering about his since he's got a comment on the brother.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Jimmy, that's not nice.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. We're moving on. We'll tell you what the surprise is in just about an hour. The third-string quarterback for the Eagles suggests that Tim Tebow is no threat. Matt Barkley told NJ.com, he's not taking my reps on the field. He's an arm we need for the team with the former quarterback, G.J. Kinney, I don't know the kid, making a move to receiver. Tim's just one of us. He's trying to make the team just like we all are. It hasn't affected my approach to how I feel the team thinks of me or how I'm going out to compete every day. So, is he right? Skip Bayless.
Is he right about what?
That he's just an arm.
Camp arm?
That he's just an arm.
You know what? Matt Barkley has no real idea what is going on here. I found this comment dismissing Tim Tebow as just another camp arm. I found it at first funny, then sad for Matt Barkley. And I used to like Matt Barkley when he was at USC. But there were widespread reports that Matt Barkley was on the trading block. And I was told by a key source involved in the Tebow negotiation that the announcement of Tebow was hung up for a weekend because they thought they had a deal done, bless you.
Thank you.
With the Miami Dolphins, who suddenly turned around and signed, which I thought was a great move, Josh Freeman. And all of a sudden, Matt Barkley was still stuck with the Eagles. The camp arm right now is really, it belongs to one Matt Barkley. And just for the record, when When I look at what Matt Barkley has done as a pro football player, you remember 2 years ago he got in the fourth quarter against my Dallas Cowboys in that game at Philly, which was the aberration game of the whole year.
Yes.
My Cowboys won 17 to only 3 points for the Eagles, and Matt Barkley got in the fourth quarter and threw 3 interceptions just in that quarter. Then the next week he got to play against your Giants at Philadelphia. Didn't do much better. Has still yet to lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a single touchdown in a drive. Has thrown 0 touchdown passes. And this is forcing me just to reiterate to people that Tim Tebow has 16 NFL starts on his resume. He's 9-7 as a starter. He went 8-5 in 2011, and he's thrown 19 touchdown passes to only 9 interceptions. So I'm just comparing his resume to one Matt Barkley's. And if we want to go back to college, Tim did win a couple of national championships and a Heisman Trophy compared to a Matt Barkley whose best finish was 6th in the Heisman race. So just to keep this in perspective, for Matt to dismiss Tim as an arm, I'm wondering where Matt's going to wind up when all is said and done, because I'm afraid it's not going to be with the Eagles.
But he's the second one, right, to make that comment, because Mark Sanchez also said
okay, but that's at least Sanchez was the quasi-starter last year. At least he's the incumbent at this moment. We don't know what Sam Bradford's injury situation is going to be.
So it's a different look.
But it is a different look, and Chip Kelly has been adamant that Tim Tebow was signed only as a quarterback. Go ahead.
My initial reaction was that I think anybody that aspires to be a quarterback in the NFL that ain't confident against Tim Tebow don't belong in the NFL. Because you know how I feel about Tim Tebow. He's my friend. I like him. And I think he's a good dude, and I think he deserves to be on an NFL roster. I just don't think the boy can throw. It's just that simple. Now,
I've heard that before.
I
don't know where, but I've heard it somewhere.
But he keeps telling me to watch, and that, you know, you'll see. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I genuinely am rooting for Tim Tebow. I hope that he's successful. I truly do. Having said all of that, that's where any agreement that I have in terms of Matt Barkley goes right out the window, because he's the last person that should be saying this kind of stuff. Now, maybe we misconstrued it because at the end of his sentence, he did say we're all competing for a job, so he threw them all in there. But his initial comments did appear to be alarmingly dismissive, considering who it was coming from, which is him. He did complete 61% of his passes in the NFL, 30 of 49. He has thrown for 300 yards, but you know what? 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You've done absolutely nothing on the NFL level. You certainly couldn't compete with Tim Tebow on the collegiate level. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and then you come out and you say something like this, if I'm Tim Tebow, I'm chomping at the bit to go against you. Because I'm thinking, excuse me, my credentials compared to yours, I look like a Hall of Famer.
He does.
And so I look at it from that perspective, and I say, if you're Matt Barkley, you got to watch what you're saying. I'm not going to go overboard with it or whatever, but Matt Barkley, there was certainly more expected of him that has not materialized.
Okay, so hypothetically, you say that Tim Tebow can't throw. I've never heard you say that before, so it's a shock to me. It's stop the presses.
Whatever.
Hypothetically,
I say that as much as I say my own name.
Yeah, that's true.
Go ahead.
If you threw Matt Barkley in with the 2011 Denver Broncos when they fell to 1-4, what would have happened?
Well, again, I'm asking you, it's unnecessary to rub it in. We all know that Matt Barkley was out of line. I'm just saying we all know he wouldn't have done anything.
Oh, really?
Why would we assume that
I thought maybe you'd say he would have done something.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you that I think Matt Barkley.
Well, so how did the guy who can't throw go 8-5 with that team and win a playoff game? I don't get it.
What I'm saying to you is, forget beyond that. Matt Barkley has no business saying anything about Tim Tebow. That's my point. That's not going to change my mind. I don't care if listen, Tim Tebow with his non-throwing self is a better option than Matt Barkley.
His 19-9 touchdown to interception ratio, non-throwing self.
Listen, man, he also listen again. I'm not going to fall for that bait with you. We all know what time it is. I'm telling you that Tim Tebow.
It's a trap you can't get out of.
Tim Tebow, you know, he's definitely a great runner as a quarterback, no question about that. And if running the football was a requirement, Tim Tebow would be a top 10 dude. But that ain't it.
Wait,
you got to be able to throw the football.
Who beat your Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game? With a what? With a run?
He did.
Did he run at 80 yards?
One pass. A dead clock is right twice a day. I know that.
I haven't heard this before.
But again,
Barkley, dead clock?
Barkley has no business saying anything about
he's
Tim
a dead
Tebow.
clock.
and say he has no business. No, he's not a dead clock. You said dead clock is right twice a day. He ain't been right twice a day yet.
Okay,
he ain't even dead clock.
Okay. Well, I don't even think he's an Eagles clock at this point.
Okay.
The gentleman. Barkley, you should not be speaking, is what we're getting at.
Not about Tim Tebow like that.
Not about Tim Tebow.
Like, not like that.
On Friday, Dwight Howard was suspended 1 game without pay after receiving his 4th flagrant foul of the postseason in Game 5 against the Warriors. Warriors center Andrew Bogut was asked about the physicality of the series against the Rockets. And this is what he had to say. There was some physicality there, like any playoff series, but the Memphis series was more physical. This was more about ducking and weaving and getting out of the way of aired fists and elbows. All right, Stephen A., what do you make of his comments?
I think that's accurate, but everybody's taking it as a shot at Dwight Howard or as disrespectful. Have y'all watched the Memphis Grizzlies? I mean, they have Marc Gasol, who's about 7 feet tall, legit 280, and we're talking about Zach Randolph. I mean, when you think about that commercial, Where's the Beef from years ago, look to Memphis, because that's exactly where it is. There's no shortage of beef in that front line, not with that Zach Randolph. Zach Randolph is a guy devoid of athleticism. He couldn't jump onto a curb, okay? He has no ups whatsoever, but that brother can play. And the primary reason he can play is because he loves to bang. That's what he does. That's who he is. There is no shortage of physicality when it comes to Zach Randolph. He's just leaning on you, just elbowing you, just jumping into you. I mean, he's doing everything. And then after that, I mean, when you're going to the locker room, he might bump into you walking to the locker room. That's just who he is.
Right.
So when you go against guys like that, and then you're going up against Dwight Howard, who's big, who's muscular, but not so big compared to those guys because they're 7 feet, they're 6'11", they're 6'10", they're 260, 270. You're talking about a guy like Dwight Howard that's right around his size. You got to remember, Dwight Howard without shoes is 6'9". Dwight Howard is not, I mean, he's really a center in a power forward's body. The reason why he's played the 5 throughout his career is because of his athleticism, his ability to run up and down the floor, and more importantly, his ability to rebound and block shots. So that's why you have him at that position, because that's where his potential could be maximized. But Dwight Howard isn't really that big of a dude compared to the other guys, and his game doesn't entail banging because of it. And it's just that simple. So I don't think that Andrew Bogut was wrong in what he was saying. Actually, I thought that the Australian was quite accurate, if I may add. The flip side.
Is that your Australian accent?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Yes,
but
it sounded like a British accent to me.
I don't know what it was. But I did have a great time in Sydney, Australia years ago. It was a beautiful city. But the point is that this guy was absolutely right, but I don't think it should be interpreted as an insult against Dwight Howard, considering what you compared it to, which was Memphis, arguably the most physical team in the NBA.
I don't know. Those last couple of lines from Bogut sounded like he was calling Dwight a fake tough guy. That's what it sounded like to me. Maybe I'm reading too much between the lines. But those other guys you talked about at Memphis, those are not fake tough guys. Those are flat out real. They're legit tough guys. Yeah. And you look at Dwight, and I get you with no shoes. He's 6'9", plays at 6, what? You give him 11 in shoes, maybe? Yes. Those shoulders look like Greek god shoulders. Yep. Like it looks like he could do more damage with his body than he ultimately is able to do, even though his numbers are always very good. His double-double numbers are great. But listen, Bogut still doesn't get enough credit. He's the only guy they have that does the dirty work down low. He is their 7-footer, although Festus Ezeli, my guy from Vanderbilt, comes in and he's looking good, Skip. He could be an X factor. Yeah, I know, he could be an X factor in these finals. But when you look at the NBA's #1 defense in efficiency this year, the Golden State Warriors, Bogut missed 15 games this year. Yep. When he was off the floor, they gave up 105.5 points a game. In the games he played, they gave up 98.6. Well, that's a big swing right there. 16. And it's about rim protection. Because Draymond is listed at 6'7". I don't even know is he right in that ballpark? Mm-hmm. He's not a huge guy. And Spates hasn't been able to play. He's listed at 6'10". He might be able to play starting with game 1. So maybe that'll be a big addition. Harrison Barnes is 6'8". David Lee hasn't played very much. Looks like he put on a couple pounds.
Yeah.
That's just me.
David Lee?
Yeah.
That's from sitting on the bench.
I know he's been sitting.
That's from sitting on the bench.
But he's listed at 6'9". My point is, this isn't a towering basketball team here, except for the Australian, who's a legit 7-footer, who can get a little nasty down low.
Yes, he can.
And they need that.
Yes.
And he will protect that rim.
Well, he's no scrub.
Yeah.
It's just that the best ability is availability. And obviously, in the last 3 years or so, it was questionable about him, and I stand by what I said.
So that's why you called him bogus.
That's right.
Right?
Not because he couldn't play.
Okay.
It was because he wouldn't play. You understand? But
or couldn't play.
Well, I mean, he says couldn't, but, listen, hurt, injury, there are debates.
Okay.
Now, you can sit there and think it's the coach. I know players, too, and I know what players said, but they obviously have respect for his skill and his ability, and the fact that he's doing a good job for them in these playoffs. He's formidable, and he's a formidable presence. But let's get back to Dwight Howard for a second. To piggyback off your point, here's where Dwight Howard gets knocked. And it gives those statements by the Andrew Bogut's and others of the world validity about him. You lose in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. You've been in the league for 10 years. You've made one visit to a finals. You've never won a championship. And you look at people with the straightest, most serious face you can muster, and you say, I'm a winner. What have you won?
That was after Game 5.
That was after Game 5. This is after he lost. See, when you do stuff like that, that's when the Dwight Howard that I love and respect and think the world of, now all of a sudden the Kobe's of the world and others and Shaq getting on him in the past and others looking at you, that's when the criticism gets elevated in terms of its validity, because now you have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to look at the American public, the basketball public, the world over, and suddenly you're trying to redefine what a winner is, because that's not our definition. Now, nobody's calling you a loser, but you can't say you're a winner when you don't have one single championship to show for it. You can't do that. And when you're $88 million and you got a guy like James Harden, who was a number 2 candidate for league MVP honors, okay? And you're going against Andrew Bogut. You're going against Andrew Bogut. 18.16 rebounds, 4 blocks. They're respectable, but you ain't paid $88 million to be respectable. You're paid $88 million to be great. And you just can't look at the public and go, I'm a winner. Because now we're like this. You see, that's the problem right there. That's what they were talking about. Because how in God's name are you calling yourself a winner and you going home? You literally in the arena watching the other team celebrate because they going to the finals, and you say, I'm a winner. No. The dudes down the hallway with their press conferences with the winners. I mean, come on. Come on.
Well, wouldn't you agree? Big picture on Dwight. He has never been able to live up to the expectations inspired by his physique, his presence, what you see,
You know what? I used to try to fend that off because of who you're going up against, but I can't anymore. The fact of the matter is that Dwight, even with his quotes in the postseason, having fun, the affable atmosphere, the personality, or whatever. At some point in time, bro, you got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, how's that working for you? Try getting big and nasty. Try being nasty. Try having an attitude. Try being unpleasant. Try doing because you need to, he's got to learn to truly, truly hate losing. And you got to, and no more importantly, you got to sit back and go like this. I'm a loser today. I don't like this feeling. Because if you convince yourself that you're a winner when you were losing, where's the priority to win if you already think you're a winner?
Right.
We know you're not.
And remember, winning isn't defined by getting cheap shot technical fouls. And he got, 4?
Well, I mean, you down there banging and elbows. So I don't blame him as much as I blame the league for its soft tendencies these days, calling everything. But I will point the finger at him in terms of you don't get to tell us you're a winner when you've never won.
I will bet you
can't do that.
If you gave Steph and Clay a choice, they would take Bogut over Dwight.
You think so? All right. Well,
I believe that.
Speaking of Bogut, he said last year he was trying to get the Warriors to sign fellow Aussie Matthew Dellavedova, but there was no time and no space on said roster.
That's just kinship and patriotism. That's all that's about. How you gonna sit there and tell the world you gotta sign this guy? I got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but we've got to sign this guy. Really? Really? You think you trying to tell me? Listen, I like Matthew Dellavedova. You trying to tell me you want him over Sean Livingston?
Maybe over Barbosa?
Well, maybe, but come on now. I mean, it's not like it's a priority to get another guard when you got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Not if you're Golden State.
Let's stop that.
I'm Buster Olney, and on the latest Baseball Tonight podcast, we saw what I think was the coolest moment in baseball this year over the weekend, and it involved one of the game's great stars. We'll tell you who that is. You can download it from ESPN.com/PodCenter.
All right, so this is what you all needed to know. Less than 3 months after being traded away from the Bears, Brandon Marshall and the Jets have reworked his deal. It increases the total value of his contract from just over $24 to $26 million. It also includes an additional $1.3 million in guarantees. How much pressure, Stephen A., is on Brandon Marshall with the new contract?
I would tell you there's some pressure, Skip. And the reason I say that is because the New York Jets had the worst passing attack in the entire NFL last year. This year, they got a new quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick. You still got Geno there. I like Bryce Petty. I think that this guy is going to make some noise. I don't have any doubt in my mind about that. I think that, Chan Gilly comes out. He's your new offensive coordinator. He says to you, Geno Smith is the guy. Todd Bowles essentially says, hold on now. It's going to be a competition. You're going to have a chance to compete. I think that's because Bryce Petty is impressed, and we'll see what happens. But in the end, we all know about, quarterbacks coming out of Baylor, and some people sit there and say they don't know how well they'll do on the next level, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want to knock them at all because I think they've got potential. I guess I'm looking at it from this perspective. You're Brandon Marshall. You're coming off a 5-11 season in Chicago with Jay Cutler, your buddy, who you swore by, who everybody else and their grandmother knows is no leader.
Then last year I swore at.
That's right, and you swore at.
You got down
and Brandon Marshall was the one that stood by him, okay? So now you're out of Chicago, thank the good Lord, because whether you know it or not, Brandon Marshall, it was good for you. It's the best thing for you to get rid of Jay Cutler so you can no longer be contaminated. I'm convinced that rib injury that Brandon Marshall suffered at the hands of the Cowboys, all right, that ultimately put him out for the rest of the season. I'm convinced that was just that was karma. That was good luck because the football god said, "Let's get you away from Jay Cutler for good. Let's do that." Okay, so now you're in a different situation, and obviously Geno Smith is no Jay Cutler, and we understand that. But we don't even know if Geno's going to be the guy. It could be Ryan Fitzpatrick. It could be somebody else. In the end, to me, Brandon Marshall, this is an opportunity for him in the New York market to reestablish himself as a number one wideout. He wasn't even, the top two receiver for the Chicago Bears last year. It was Alshon Jeffries that did it. Was Martellus Bennett at tight end. They had more receptions than him. They had more yards than him. Now, granted, he only played in 13 games. Yep. He's out the last 3. But my point is, even before then, the Chicago Bears looked like straight garbage. So because of that, the fact that you are now in New York City, the media capital of the world, you got Todd Bowles, a new coach with a lot of promise. McCagnon, the new GM, making moves. I mean, they got Darrelle Revis. They got Antonio Cromartie. They reunited that secondary, okay? You got Milliner, who was your number one corner. Now he's third, basically, and he's coming in for you. Then you retained David Harris. You still got Richardson. You still got Copeland. You still got Muhammad Wilkerson. You drafted Williams, okay? So your defense is expected to be elite. Offensively, you still got Bilal Powell. You got who was it? Ridley that you got from the New England Patriots. Yep. So I'm just looking at them, and I'm saying to myself, Zach Stacy from St. Louis as well, Vanderbilt. But also now you take Eric Decker, all right, there was an APB out for him last year. We couldn't find for the whole year because he was missing from the time of the Super Bowl. We knew he was at the Super Bowl when Denver played Seattle because he was interviewed before the game, and there was a tweet after the game. So there was evidence that he was there, but we couldn't find him for those 60 minutes. Last year, still hadn't recovered, still an APB out for him. But now that he's the number 2 receiver, I believe we'll be able to find him now. Okay, so the combination
now
of
they
all
have Devin Smith from
That's
Ohio
right.
State is
so
at
now,
3.
So now you got all of that.
Yeah,
now you got all of that.
Yep.
All to me, the 2 question marks are your quarterback spot, which is the most important one, because it doesn't matter who Brandon Marshall or anybody else what they bring to the table. If the quarterback can't throw, it's nothing. You can't help him. But the key thing is number 1 on the list is your quarterback.
Right.
But number 2 Is Brandon Marshall ready to reestablish himself as a number one receiver for a franchise in the National Football League? I believe he is, but we got to see.
So you use this question as just a nice way to get back at Jay Cutler, right? It was just like to tee you up to take a shot backward at Jay Cutler.
I sort of resent the notion that I'm taking shots at Jay Cutler. I'm not taking shots at Jay. I'm not taking shots at Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler takes shots at himself because the only time we've seen him smile or look remotely something other than depressed was when he was signing a contract for that fat dollars that he didn't deserve. It's a crime that Jay Cutler, what is he going to give $25 million?
He's got a lot of money.
$25 million?
David, how much money?
Going forward.
Let's see.
Yep. I mean,
who's his agent?
He got franchise.
Give him, man. He's like, I'm going to talk about him the way I talk about Henry Thomas for Chris Bosh.
I think Buck Cook is.
He should cook. Thanksgiving dinner for his agent. Should buy him Christmas gifts.
Cook for Cook.
How much money he has.
So, just point of order here. You wouldn't have said that the Chicago Bears were straight garbage in that second Sunday night game. Remember, at San Francisco when Cutler hit, I believe, Brandon Marshall for 3 second-half touchdowns, and they pulled off, to that point, the upset of the year in the National Football League.
No, there are moments.
There were moments. And then the big controversy in Chicago was that Cutler featured Brandon Marshall too much, that he constantly looked for Brandon Marshall instead of involving the other players. So last year's big new motivation was look for the other receivers. Just for the point of order, defending the great Jay Cutler the way I do.
After swearing at him last year, right?
Swore at him.
Go ahead. Inconsistencies did skip Bayless, but go ahead.
I don't see any pressure on Brandon this year because he is in a sweet situation in which he is about to play offense for a team that's going to have the best defense in the National Football League.
Then why would there be no pressure?
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody's going to look to him to light it up or save the day. Or
they're going to look to him to produce because the defense is going to come through for you.
They're going to run the football.
Well, I'm just saying, but he's got to listen, man. You need a number one receiver, Skip Bayless.
But look. They'll probably start Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, I'm a big Bryce Petty guy, and I love Sal Powell's report on Mike and Mike this morning, Sal Paolantonio. Because he's talking about the rookie symposium and how impressive that Bryce Petty has been as a leader and a presence and charisma.
Don't you know you're supposed to love all of Sal Paolantonio's reports?
I know, I'm just saying.
He's big time.
Okay, well, so is Bryce Petty. And I cannot believe that Bryce Petty wasn't in the mix to be the second quarterback taken in the draft over Mariota. That's just me. So this was a steal here for the New York Football Jets. My point is, he's just a little too raw coming out of Baylor to expect him to be the starting quarterback right away. But I think Fitzpatrick will be the starting quarterback, and I think they won't throw it more than 15, 17 times a game.
And all I'm trying to say is that, look, man, you got to lead. First of all, they're going to have an opportunity to throw it more than that in a game because the defense is going to be forcing folks into 3 and out, so they'll have more offensive possessions, which means that your offense got to capitalize on it, Skip. They got to do something, and Brandon Marshall's going to be a key component of that. Yeah. Period.
But I don't think you'll be sitting up in the press box saying, "Okay, show me something here, Big B."
No, I'm just saying he's got to reserve. If I'm talking about Brandon Marshall, the Brandon Marshall we know. Do you want to just go along to get along, or do you want to reestablish yourself as an elite presence in the National Football League?
Now, before we get out of here, Stephen A., you asked how much Cutler was getting paid. He has $54 million guaranteed.
Oh, good Lord!
$126 million over
criminal
7 years.
Criminal.
$54 million guaranteed.
I'm telling you, the Chicago PD should sit there and arrest him right now for theft. I mean, you've got to be Jay Cutler, $54 million.
But the new regime came in,
Lord.
And they committed
the new regime
to Jay Cutler.
Listen.
You know what? Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You're
How are you going to replace him?
You're right.
With whom?
I got you. That's a good point. I'm not knocking it from that. It's just sickening. I mean, I like McCaskey and all. I like some of the decisions that he made and the way he reversed them and, the position. We all understand that with Ray McDonald. But good Lord, how could he okay that? That's just disgusting. Jay Cutler?
Well, the Pelicans have found their new man, Warriors assistant coach Alvin Gentry. He will be the new head coach. It's his 5th stint as a head coach, his most successful run coming back in 2010 when he took the Suns to the Western Conference Finals. Gentry will remain with the Warriors until the end of the NBA Finals. So the Pelicans, led by 22-year-old Anthony Davis, now have a new head coach. Stephen A., here's the question. Do you believe Gentry is the right fit for Davis?
That remains to be seen. I don't think you can say he was the wrong fit. I've known Alvin Gentry for years. Alvin Gentry knows the game of basketball. I believe he can coach. Offensively, this is a guy that presided over the Phoenix Suns. They had the #1 offense one year. They were top 2 additional years. Those are his pluses, combined with the fact that he knows offense. He can be innovative in that way. He's highly respected in terms of coaching the offensive side of the ball. And when you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, and when it comes to Anthony Davis, who was averaging about 59 touches a year, I'm reading an article here where they said forwards like Thaddeus Young, Joakim Noah, Derek Favors, David West, all considerably less talented than Anthony Davis, had the approximate amount of touches. That's simply inexcusable. You got to find a way to get Anthony Davis the ball more. And if anybody can figure that out, it's Alvin Gentry. The flip side to it, however, is that in his 12 years, okay, only four of them were winning seasons. 2 were postseason appearances, and his overall winning percentage was 47%. I believe the number was 335 and 370 as a head coach, even though he was 21-12 in the postseason. That's 57% of his postseason games he won, but only 47% of his regular season games he's won. So once you get a team to the postseason, Alvin Gentry is a guy that can really, really help you flourish because he has opportunity to concentrate on a particular team over the course of a 7-game series. He can do some things. What he does during the regular season remains to be seen, but I'm happy he got this opportunity. I'm happy he's going to have an opportunity to have a talent like Anthony Davis. I think he's going to do some good things with it. I don't think you can dismiss it, but it ain't a box office thing where it's like, wow, Alvin Gentry, now we've arrived.
Yeah.
No, he has things to prove, just like his team has things to prove, but I'm very happy for him. I'm happy he got the opportunity.
Yep. Like you, I have known Alvin for a long time, back to his days coaching the Pistons. This will be his 5th head coaching position in this league.
12 years, yeah.
I'm here to say, I'm going to borrow a phrase you often use on this show. You want to talk class personified?
That's him.
It's Alvin Gentry.
Yes, sir.
And as associate head coach with the Warriors, he's getting a measure of credit for what they've done on offense and on defense this year. So I do think he had a lot of input. And we've talked about how much credit does Steve Kerr deserve here. Well, Alvin deserves his share of credit also. But I'm with you. When I read that he was taking this job, my first thought was, will this be a leap from Monty Williams? Will this be a glaring upgrade where we'll all sit back and say, boy, they had to make that move? I'm not sure about that because Alvin is low-key. He's not a lightning rod. He's not considered a star coach the way, let's say, a Doc is. Doc's just, Doc's there because he's going to say something or do something that makes his presence felt. That's not what Alvin does. Again, can he help young Anthony take it to the next level? I hope so, but I'm with you. It remains to be seen that he'll be a huge upgrade over a Monty Williams, who I still think got a raw deal. I just think he did. He did a good job last year.
Yeah, let's also give Steve Kerr credit for making Alvin Gentry the assistant head coach.
Yeah.
Put him in position to get credit so he can get another gig.
Thank you for hanging out with us. It's that time. It's Stephen A's special surprise. Stephen A, go ahead, open your gift.
Well, first of all, I want to know who's it from.
You got to look at it first, and then we'll tell you.
I can't stand surprises. I really don't like this. Hold on. Yes! Yes! I know who this is from. I know who this is from, Skip. This is from Freddie Roach.
It is from
Yes,
Freddie
it
Roach.
is. My Tom Ford shoes. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on now. Hold on.
The reveal. Oh, nice. Oh, what? Okay. No? You don't like it?
These are not what I asked for.
Oh, my God.
They only cost $2,000.
I know, but these are not what I asked for.
Why not?
These are beautiful shoes. I do like them. They're very impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you, Freddie Roach.
Yeah, hold them up.
But if you recall, if you recall, I specifically requested them in cherry. It was online. It was black mixed with the cherry.
I have a theory over here.
Tell me your theory.
Yeah.
It was classy for Freddie Roach to go ahead and pay off the bet that he made with you.
Okay.
But we all know, and certainly Freddie Roach knows, that Manny Pacquiao actually won that fight.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know that.
So maybe I was hoping he would only send you one shoe, because that's all you deserve.
No.
Was one shoe.
I will say
So
this.
maybe
I will
he
say
just
this.
sent you a different shoe
I will say
just
this.
to irritate you, because he knows that his guy actually won the fight.
I will say this.
What
These
would you
shoes
say?
are fly.
They're fly.
They are big time. No doubt about it. And because of that, I won't sweat the fact that he didn't get me the
What color are they? Are they
They're
black and
These
blue?
are black. No,
Oh,
these
okay.
are black. These are black.
All right,
but he didn't get me the
what you
color.
but to that point, he included the following note. It says, "I didn't need your discount. Hope you like my colors. You can exchange if you want." Here is his.
You know what?
So he picked the color, I guess.
He picked the color.
Oh.
Now you know what?
Note for you.
I might keep the
You
black.
can exchange
The
if you
black
want.
does look serious.
Yeah.
I mean, with this is a time
Listen.
for a blazer. I would have wore the shoes with these today. See, it's a time for a blazer. Right here.
So you're saying that Freddie Roach is actually a better dresser than you are?
No,
'Cause he
I'm
had
saying that I gave him advice.
Yeah.
You know, it was. You got to remember, he wanted these, these kind of shoes himself, but his man did not get the job done. You understand? His man lost the fight.
Oh, his man lost the fight.
So because of that, he had to fess up and pay up. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie.
You know what's so funny?
Yeah.
We asked you guys at home what, in fact, you thought the gift would be, and most of you guessed correctly. We didn't read those tweets, but everyone knew that it was Tom Ford shoes.
I had no idea because I was thinking that Freddie was going to send it to my house.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I didn't know it was going to get here. So somebody had intervened, and that's fine. That's fine because I'm going to take it home with me. I just wish, had it arrived Friday, then I would have been rocking them today with my all black. But it's okay.
Perfect timing for the finals. We're going on the road.
Yeah, no, I know that, but it would have been better to wear it today while we're talking about Freddie Roach, because you see, when we go to the finals, we'll be talking about winners, and that won't include Manny Pacquiao, obviously. So there will be no reason to talk about Freddie Roach.
Who clearly won the fight.
That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say.
But
listen.
Wait, Freddie Roach said right after the fight, Manny won the fight.
Let's give credit where credit is due. Freddie Roach, unlike some people I know, honors his bet.
I honors his bet. I honor my bet sitting right here.
Freddie Roach deserved it. Not for 2 hours. Not for 2 hours.
I took both of them home and I burned them both.
You burned them both.
You burned them like
Freddie
LeBron's jersey
Roach
burned
honors his bets.
Yes, I did.
Bayless does not.
I burned them both.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I paid off my bet.
You didn't pay off your bet.
We sent you the wrong color.
You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of my please.
You wanted burgundy.
No, please.
Black.
We'll see you tomorrow.
You can wear Tom Ford shoes.
10 a.m.
No, you couldn't.
ESPN 2. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you, Freddie.
That's all you got to say.
I'm disappointed.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Here's some information for you. First take on the road for the NBA Finals. Join us in Oakland Thursday, June 4th. We're at Lake Chalet Restaurant on Lake Merritt, and that'll be at 3:30 Eastern. Don't forget, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Come down and join us.